it off, Britt. Dance it off.
I'm dancing those feelings out.
I like your outfit.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are in poor taste.
Coming to you live from the storage closet.
We are coming to you live from that storage unit that Caitlin hides all of her bodies in. But we are in poor taste, an irreverent guide to drinking wine. So I hope you're ready to get irreverent, because I know we are. Just to let you know, we are doing a couple new things tonight. So bear with us if it gets a little weird. We like to get weird around here. So Caitlin, why don't you tell us what we're doing here?
Great. Well, here at In Poor Taste, as in
here at In Poor Taste headquarters,
yes, we are really just excited about getting together with each other, primarily first.
But secondarily, you. Just kidding.
Yes.
I feel like the audience has become like primary.
Yeah.
And it's just like a gateway for me and you to hang out now. Me and you are the secondary product of this thing.
Yeah. You're not even here for us anymore. You're fine. We're here for each other. We do this weekly wine show. We do it live, which is why we might have some things going on tonight. We're trying out some new stuff, like Britt said. And we just take it as an opportunity to learn more about wine in a non-pretentious way. That's like the first thing we're going to throw out of here is the pretension.
Get out of here, pretension.
Get out of here. And we just want to have fun. We want to debunk some of the mysteries of wine. I think it was actually perfect because one of our viewers recently said, after last week's episode, I think I need to be a little open-minded about my wine choices. And I was like, yay, that's what we're here for, is to kind of teach you, to share with you.
Oh my gosh, when you shared that with me, I was just like, I felt like a proud parent. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're growing up so fast.
They are growing up so fast. Before you take over the show, and they're going to be running it, and they're going to be like, Caitlin and Britt, who?
They're going to be like, we know so much more than you, but we still come for the fun.
Yeah, exactly. So
actually, I do feel like some people do know more than me, and they still tune in for the fun. Oh. So I'm here for that too.
We're like loose experts. We're experts, but we're not really experts, and we don't want to put you as experts.
Take that, let's take that to heart. Like, I am, yes, and. Yes, we're experts, and.
So, what are we talking about tonight? What's our topic?
Oh my goodness. Well, one thing, it was so funny how you were talking about that viewer who was just like, I think I need to be a little more adventurous with my wine drinking. And I was like, hell yeah. And one of my favorite things too about this is when we start researching about something, I start learning more about it and I get more excited. And after all the research that we did today, I am since last week, I'm so excited about tonight's episode. It is all about Santa Barbara wine.
Yeah.
Heard the song Ba-Ba-Ba-Ba-Ba-Ba.
Santa Barbara and.
Anyway, if you are paying attention, if you're ready for a drink, open up those bottles because I'm ready. Caitlin's ready. I got it going on.
Don't wait.
And yeah, actually, one thing too that I did want to talk about a little bit, touch on, was faults and flaws. A viewer did tell me from last week, because last week, if you didn't tune in, was about Chardonnay. If you did tune in, awesome. And if you didn't tune in, you can watch all of our past episodes on importtaste_wine. No, that's our Instagram.
Import Taste.
Import Taste. It's our Facebook. That's where they all live. And actually it lives on YouTube as well. So check out our YouTube channel.
That's like the secret graveyard for where our episodes go.
Graveyard. It's like, yeah. It's where we hide all those dead bodies when they don't fit in Caitlin's storage unit that she's in right now.
I'm here because
the graveyard of our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I had to come over here last minute to my friend's house down the street because I was getting ready for the episode, and promptly, right on time, the construction crews showed up outside like 15 feet away from me and started tearing up all the asphalt. And I can't even hear anything. I got to get out of my house. So It's a little hot in here, I will say also. So sorry if I'm sweating. Okay.
It's just because we're on fire. Well, this is on fire, but this episode is like, this episode's fire. Anyway, yeah. Oh, also, we didn't mention it, but we'd love to interact with you in the comments. We're really trying to make that a priority. So if you guys could put in stuff, we see you, Lauren. We see you, Logan. If you guys could put stuff in the comments, we'd love to talk about questions that you have throughout the episode, highlight comments that are really relevant. So make sure that we're all participating. We're all friends here. Yeah. And there is no dumb question. There's only curious people here. But speaking of dumb questions or dumb answers, shall I say, and not dumb, but, I'm now, whatever. Chablis, we talked about last week that it is in stainless steel, and I'm sure there's lots in stainless steel, but a friend reached out to me. This is our faults and flaws. So this is the fault and flaw. A friend reached out to me and was like, actually, Chablis is mostly done in neutral oak. And even some Grand Cru Chablis, so like coming from the best sites, are not even going to be done in neutral oak. They are going to be done in some like new oak. So just so you know, Chablis, my friend told me, Chablis, the like racing acidity does not come from the stainless steel. It comes from the soil and the climate. And thank you for your correction. And we are here for the corrections. That's why this is in poor taste. We don't think that we're bright all the time, but most of the time we are.
Yeah, and I think we got the essence right. We were saying that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So neutral oak, stainless steel, just relatively, I think, similar. It's coming from those because neutral oak means it's used so many times, it's not really contributing to the wine much anymore. So thank you, Britt, for bringing that fault and flaw.
Yes. Okay, Caitlin. So now that everyone's opened their wine, now that everyone's drinking, because I get a little more fun with a couple glasses under my belt. So maybe you do too. Maybe you're ready to have some fun. So start drinking. Caitlin, tell us what you're drinking today.
Okay, so in my shed, I actually have an image. Yeah. So this is my wine. I took a front photo and a back photo because there wasn't much on the front that really gave it away. I am drinking a Pinot Noir, a Shannon Pinot Noir from Bien Nacido Vineyard. And it's a 2014. So it's seriously so beautiful. The color is just like gorgeous. And that means
God, when you sent it to me and told me it was a 2014, I was like, great. Like, where can I buy a 2014 on the shelf?
It was so cool too, because like, it was a little bit of a hookup. I was at the shop and someone was like, oh yeah, you could also get this one. It's like, it was a little bit more expensive, but then he was like, but we got permission to sell it to industry folks for less. And I was like, done, I'm taking two. So it was pretty exciting. Sorry if that sounds like an asshole thing for me to say.
Did you get two? I hope you did. Did you actually get two?
I did, but I got one for someone else.
Okay.
And we got some viewers drinking the same thing. I hope they like it as much as I do. So it's 2014. It's from Santa Maria Valley AVA, which we're going to talk about the AVAs and you'll get some more background on that. And then the winemaker for this is dedicated to crafting wines that really reflect the land and the climate and the terroir. So that is something that you're going to see thematically throughout Santa Barbara in general, is that people really want to preserve what is actually happening in the land and not manipulate it as much in the winery. So I really feel like this is a delicious expression of that. It's made from some of the oldest vines in the area. And also this Bien Nacido Vineyard is possibly the best known and most prestigious vineyard site in Santa Barbara. So I was like, dang, really I know,
even when you told me the vineyard, I was like, great.
I know. And I had to even ask because I was like, I told the guy at the wine shop, I'm like, I'm going to have to do some more research on everything you just said because I don't know what any of that means, but great. I will look it up. So in case you think we walk in and we always know what we want, we don't. And then also when I was reading,
we listen to other wine professionals when we're choosing what to get also.
Yeah,
it's just like,
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I was getting this wine, or when I was researching this wine, I was reading some people's notes on like this vineyard and this like the grapes that were grown there. And I came across this quote that I thought was really fun. It just was, it was a psalm, and I didn't write down his name because I'm terrible at citing my sources on this show. But basically, he said, God made Cabernet, the devil made Pinot Noir. And this is a Pinot Noir, if I didn't say that already. So it's a nod to how difficult Pinot Noirs are to grow as opposed to cabs. So
okay, it was funny because I was like, I guess I'm thinking about what I want to drink, and I was like, if anything, God made Pinot Noir, and the devil made
flavor, but the difficulty of growing as like a winemaker or a grower, you're like, oh gosh, I gotta grow Pinot. So, what are you drinking?
Awesome. Well, I am drinking at Tatimer wine. Yay. It is a Riesling. It is, let's pull up that slide. I feel like that's not any better than the other one. Here, I'll just
put your bottle up to it.
So I'm just going to show it. So this wine is a 2017 Vandenberg Riesling from Santa Barbara County. Riesling from Santa Barbara? What? Like, let's talk about record scratch right there. Anyway, so this is coming from mostly Kick on Ranch, which is kind of a pretty well-known vineyard in Santa Barbara. And it is pretty close to an Air Force base. Mainly, maybe you've heard of it, the Vandenberg Air Force Base. I actually went to school in Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, so pretty close to Santa Barbara. So I do recall this Air Force Base. 2007, and that's where it gets its name. The grapes that are done, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to try to explain it, have a higher amount of botrytis. And we've talked about it before. Botrytis is also called noble rot. And that is when there is a rot that happens in the grape, but sometimes you want it because what happens are, with this particular one, it pinpricks kind of the skins of the grape. And so what happens is it dries out and it's going to concentrate that sugar. And so when you get that concentrated sugar, it can make a higher alcohol, it can make a richer wine, or it can even make a sweet alcohol. And with Rieslings, that's what you're looking for. This one's actually bone dry, but it has a super richness to it because of that. It's done in stainless steel and aged in neutral oak. And the producer is Graham Tatimer, and he started working in cellars in high school, and he just did it because he was from Santa Barbara. So he did it for the money, but then he grew to love it. And he spent actually 4 years at Weingut Knoll, which is a really well-known producer in Austria. Highly recommend their wines if you get it. I mean, it's gonna cost you. So if you don't want to pay that, Tatimer is a really great option because so I bought it from this really wonderful, female-owned wine shop who they're very supportive of all different walks of life. And they even said in blind tastings, they'll often confuse it for old world wines. And that has a lot to do with other things that we'll talk about in this episode. But it also has to do with that he worked in Austria under this really well-known producer for 4 years. Beyond that, he would come back. So if you know, he would also simultaneously be working for Ojai Vineyards, which I had a old coworker, one of my old cellar mates worked at Ojai Vineyards for many years. And they make great wines. Actually, I got 2 wines tonight and I was trying to decide which one to drink, but I posted this one on Instagram. So I felt I can't just do a bait and switch. I have to give the people what they paid for. Anyway, so in 2008, he started his own winery and his wines are fucking awesome. And they're really well known for Rieslings. And I highly recommend their Rieslings. They also make Gruners, which obviously is very synonymous with kind of Austria, where these wines are coming from. So anyway, Caitlin, what are you tasting in your wine? Maybe you can tell everybody. Also, Alan said a really great thing that said, you were talking about your shed. Did you say she shed? Are you in a she shed, Caitlin?
No, I am in a writer's den that I have hijacked for my episode. And I'm pretty sure that the writer is outside this door wondering why I have all the wine in here with me. So it is now a wine den.
Wine den.
Which is very hot. And I'm like, oh man, it is
I listened to this feminist podcast called Call Your Girlfriend. Highly recommend it. But they did an episode on she sheds, and it was so funny because they were like, oh, when I first heard of she sheds, I thought it was about like the menstrual cycle.
Oh no. Oh no.
Anyway, fun
well,
fact.
on that note, what I am tasting in my wine, actually, this is such a delightful wine. I am over the moon. It's funny because I always talk about Pinot Noirs. I used to hate them. Like, reliably, I hated them so much that in the blind tasting, I could pick them out because I was just like, ugh, this is disgusting. But I think I was just drinking all the wrong Pinots because now when I drink something like this, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is so gorgeous. Tons of red fruit, like some notes of like leather and tobacco, like a lot of those kind of like richer notes. But I think it does have a little bit of new oak, by the way. So I forgot to mention that. But it is just so, it's hard to demonstrate in the shed how the color is, but it's so
the shed.
Yeah, in the shed. It's so light. You can basically, I could probably read right through it. And just like crushed berries, cranberries, raspberries, all these kinds of red cherries. Everything that I want in my life is like in this glass. Tobacco, leather, some horse smells.
I'm not in that glass.
Oh, well, that's true. I mean, everything I want in a wine, I should say, in that glass. It is wonderful. What about you? What are you tasting in yours?
Okay. So mine is like very like stone fruit. Kind of like, if you like, perfect time to talk about stone fruits because it's the season, the reason for the season.
Yeah.
I actually have some nectarines over in my kitchen, and it's so funny. I will walk down aisles where they have like stone fruits, which are like peaches, nectarines, pluots, things like that.
Anything with a stone in it.
Anything with a stone in it. And I won't buy it until I just walk down the aisle and I can smell it. And so the other day I was at the grocery store, and even with my mask on, I could smell it. And I was like, it is fucking time. Like, go time for those nectarines over there. They're going to be in my mouth. But anyway, right now with this. But it also has like kind of like mineral, like the biggest thing that I notice is the richness on the palate, which I was talking about the botrytis. Really rich on the palate. I'm curious to see, because I just pulled it out of the fridge. So I'm curious to see how it will like develop throughout the episode. So I'll let you know. Tune in at the end. Find out what's changed in the glass.
For last sip. For our last
sip. I love that Lauren says she sheds monthly and did lots of laughing notes with it. But the funny thing is that the feminist podcast I do listen to, their monthly newsletter is called The Bleed.
That's crazy. It's funny that it's monthly too. That's very.
I know. I think that's hilarious.
Oh, that's so funny.
Anyway,
so
the grocery store is Berkeley Bowl. In case anyone was wondering, what the grocery store where I buy all my stuff, and which if you ever come to Berkeley, it should be on your list of places to go. Berkeley Bowl, highly recommend.
I think Logan was baiting that question. I saw that in the comments. Okay, so let's move into our education portion. And I wanted to say, before I forget, that I got a ton of great resources from the Santa Barbara Vintners Association. And they have a website that's real cool. You'll see some graphics from it. And then after I was reading it, I was like, man, I got to plan my trip up there. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Yeah. And also Wine Folly, because why not? I always look at Wine Folly. So sources cited. Now I can jump in. Okay. So why should you love Santa Barbara? So I wanted to talk briefly about the unique climate and kind of where it is. So, I mean, you probably generally know where it is. I have this image. I thought this was fun. This is on their website. It's west of France, just north of LA, which I thought was hilarious. Paris, you got 5,000 miles from Paris.
Okay, so is that actually in Santa Barbara? Is that sign in Santa Barbara? Because if it is, hell yes.
I hope so. It was on the San Diego or the Santa Barbara Vintners Association webpage as like their home screen. And I was like, this is genius. It's very
genius.
So I loved that. So in case you're really actually wondering geographically where it is, I mean, we don't know where you tune in from. Maybe you're tuning in from the west or
maybe you're tuning in west of Paris and north of LA.
Yeah. So we just want to give you.
I'm west of Paris and north of LA.
Right. Okay, so there are more than 70 wineries. So if you're like, what's the big deal with Santa Barbara? 270 wineries. That's a ton. The coolest thing that I have found about researching, and I feel like I've told everybody this week, is in researching Santa Barbara, the valleys run an unusual east to west. In this case, kind of east to west, same difference, rather than north to south. And that is really interesting because they're one of the few places that has valleys that run that way in the world, and they have the biggest mountain ranges that also run east to west. And you might be like, what does that have to do with anything? But basically, it's called transverse, and it has a dramatic effect on the climate and kind of the cooling effect of the air. And the reason for that is, so if you're thinking about the coast, and Santa Barbara is right on the coast, and you think about mountain ranges running east to west, then they're probably, north to south, then they're kind of not really like the wind is going to be, the cool coastal climate is going to be broken up by the mountain ranges, and it's going to be a little kind of choppier. But what happens is Santa Barbara is situated right where the mountain ranges kind of funnel the breeze and the cool climate air up to about 40 miles inland, which means that inland you can grow things that you can't really grow in normal, like coastal grapes that you can't normally grow, because there's like, it serves as like a funnel, which I just thought was like so cool when I learned about that. I also that is the largest transverse mountain range, maybe in a wine growing region, but I think in general on the Pacific Ocean, from all the way from Alaska down to South America. So
I have read for wine growing regions, it's the only one in North and South America. And I was kind of shocked by that. I was like, wow. I mean, I don't know if they don't consider Central America because they said North and South, or, you know, some people call Central America South America. I really have no idea where that.
From Alaska all the way to South America is what I read. So
but you read the largest, and I read the only one in a wine growing region that goes that way.
It might be the only wine growing and the largest non-wine growing in general. So I thought that was so cool. So you just imagine like usually 40 miles inland. Like if you think about San Diego, which is where I live, I'm probably right now like 5 miles off the coast, and we get a nice breeze here. But like I can't even imagine 40 miles from the coast. It goes up by like sometimes like 30 degrees if you're out in like the past. That's like so far. So to imagine the cool air coming that far inland is just like really surprising. So I love that
thing too, is that it really, beyond like allowing grapes that can be grown in areas where they typically like grape, it's like, oh, you wouldn't think you could grow a grape there, but it's also like it extends their kind of like their ability to grow grapes. It's like, oh, it makes their kind of range way bigger for having vineyards.
Yeah, exactly. So it creates tons of little microclimates along the way, and it extends your ability to grow certain things. The longest transverse on the Western Pacific. So maybe that's the difference, the valley versus the mountain range. I read, this is a quote from the website: with the mouth of the valley open to the ocean, the cooling fog rolls almost 40 miles inland at night. And because of that, it's one of the coolest grape regions in the world, which is, I was like so blown away by realizing that. Which is really exciting stuff. So that's kind of where it is. That's a little bit of the climate factors that really affect what you're getting there. We're going to talk also about the grapes that grow there and some of the like AVAs within, or the American viticulture areas within those. But just to kind of situate it for you, that's the kind of area that we're talking about. That's why you can grow things like Pinot Noir and Riesling. Chardonnay. Yeah.
Okay. So, if you've ever been to Germany or Austria, they're fucking cold. Mm-hmm. And so you're not going to get that in California, but actually you are. And so that's why a lot of really good Rieslings are coming out of Oregon, because it's cold up there. And so it's like, okay, so where can we find it in California is because of this effect. And the reason, like Caitlin didn't really mention, is that the tectonic plates, it was like way in billions of years ago, the tectonic plates hit. And that's right along where the San Andreas Fault is. And it's so funny. I catered a wedding there. How cold? Fucking cold. How cold? Fucking cold? Well, you're never So I catered a wedding there like years and years ago when I was still in college, with like, I was like a bartender that they hired, and I catered it. It was in this like little town, and it was like, I don't remember what it said, but it talked about the how that's where the earthquake line was, and they're like, be here when it happens. Like, it was the tiniest town. It was like called Park something. I'll know next episode. But it was just like, okay, like, be here when the big one hits.
Oh,
but because of that, that's why because it falls right along those lines, that's why those mountain ranges go east to west, as opposed to the rest of California, which go north to south, which has created that valley. And with that, if you're familiar at all with how weather works, as it heats up in like the central areas, it's actually going to pull the cool climate from the ocean further down. And typically, one thing that becomes a problem, Caitlin mentioned about fog, one thing that can become a problem with fog regions is it brings mildew and it brings rot to the grapes. But that isn't how, like, it isn't how that works, mainly because because of those mountain ranges, it creates a rain shadow. So with the rain shadow, there's no rain that's getting in there. So it's really dry, but it's really cold. It makes this perfect condition. When I was reading about it, I was like, oh my God, why am I not drinking more Santa Barbara wine? Yeah. I am ready to fucking drink more Santa Barbara wine. I feel like I'm saying the F word a lot in this episode. And
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Great. I'm glad we're all here for it. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the different AVAs then. So Caitlin told us a lot about where it's situated and kind of why it's super special. But I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about like the different regions and what you're going to get for them. And I have this lovely infographic. So let's like look at it. Oh, it's so great. So this is like really cool. I found it. So Hawk Waka Waka is the person who did this, and she did a fabulous job. So you can kind of see, if you can see, I don't even know if my thing shows up, but if it does, right along here. Oh, yay, yes. Okay. I'm loving this. Thank you, Lauren, for saying I'm loving this geography and meteorology lessons tonight. We are too. And it makes us want to drink more Santa Barbara wine. So as you can see, like San Luis Obispo County is over there. It's going to get some of that weather, but then this mountain range is going to stop it. But then these are the valleys that are created. These mountain ranges over here are bringing in that cooling climate. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what are the different ones that we're talking about. So I'm going to make it so we can see both of us at the same time because Caitlin, you're so cute. Just love you, Caitlin. Okay, so I'm going to talk first about Santa Maria Valley AVA, this one right here. It was the very first established AVA Number one. It was the little brown marker. It was the very first AVA that was established in Santa Barbara County. It was established back in 1981. And fun fact, it is the third oldest AVA in all California, is that one. What's coming out of there is going to be more Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Syrah. And it was really what kickstarted the modern Santa Barbara viticulture movement. So like, because it was the first one, it was the starter. The next one is going to be the Santa Ynez, number 6 over here. See that the little pink one? The Santa Ynez. And it used to be there were only 2 regions. It was like Santa Maria and Santa Ynez, and all those other little ones that are around it, they were sub-aviations that were created outside, like afterwards. And so because the Santa Ynez is so big, you're going to get a lot more varieties, a lot different things offered because there's a variety of climates. And one thing that Caitlin kind of touched on a little bit was because it has that ocean influence, because it has that fog, because it's so big, it's that 40-mile range. It has tons of microclimates that are going to really be dependent on vineyards. And so that's why people list their vineyards very like prominently, because different vineyards will have different microclimates. And the Santa Ynez Valley has like a lot of different offerings because of the different climates that it has. So within the Santa Ynez, these are the ones that like existed outside of it. Number 2 is the Santa Rita Hills. And what's really interesting about that, you'll see it's the one that's the furthest west. So it actually is the coldest climate of all of them. So you see a lot of Pinot Noir, and 94% of that entire AVA is planted to Pinot Noir. That is insane. 94% of that entire AVA is Pinot Noir. And it has this really interesting soil that the source that I got from said this is the only like location where vines are grown to that sediment, and it is called diatomacus earth, which is
diatomaceous.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, there's no M in it, or there's no N in it. It's
diatomaceous.
It's diatomaceous.
Okay.
Diatomaceous.
Okay.
Which is like a silica and calcium soil, and it's from the shells, like this like really porous shell. It's super white. Because it's so porous, it's really good for draining and things like that. So
Favorite.
Yes,
I think if it is the same thing I'm thinking of, which I could be wrong, but I think that stuff for your garden, and it's like really good for pests because it is so fine. It's made of these like little tiny like shards.
It's like really good for pests and like other things. Yes.
And you know why? It's because it will puncture the exoskeleton of any bug that, like, if you have some sort of bug with a firm exoskeleton, not like a earthworm or something, but it will puncture it and then it takes care of them. Like, people put it out for fleas and stuff in their yard. And I was like, nature is so cool.
Nature is crazy. The funny thing is, no, I remember I had a friend who sprinkled it around their apartment because of the fleas. And I'm like,
yep.
Oh my God, like, I'm not going to come over to your apartment, but awesome.
We have a question we're getting to, but just in case.
Yes. So do the different AVAs grow different wines? Yes. And that is dependent on soil type. And it's also dependent on climate. And so we're kind of talking a little bit about that. Like how we talked about the Santa Maria Valley. I didn't actually, they grow Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Syrah. And that one is kind of its own little thing. It's close to the ocean. Pinot Noir is mostly grown out of, yep, great. Is it from Santa Rita Hills?
Santa Maria Valley is what you were
Santa Maria. Oh, perfect. Yeah, like just like we were talking about. And then Santa Rita Hills is right here. It is probably one of the most well-known, the most prestigious of all of the AVAs in Santa Barbara. The next one is Ballard Canyon AVA, which is number 3 right here. This little tiny guy. Yes, another question. Are you looking?
No, I was just trying to see it. And I was like, my screen's so tiny. I hope y'all are watching it on a big screen.
I hope you are too, especially like I'm like giving that all of our space too, just because I'm so excited about it today.
It's cool to see it for sure.
So Ballard Canyon is really interesting because Syrah is like the most grown grape there, which is you don't typically see in California. And what's really cool is it's the first appellation that was ever defined by Syrah, or maybe the only appellation that is defined by Syrah. So if you're looking for like a killer Syrah and you don't want to like get a Côte Rôtie, which you should get a Côte Rôtie, but if you're like, I'm a domestic kind of girl, get one from Ballard Canyon. And what it is, this is really cool too, because of how it's located, like we were talking about microclimates, there's protection from the wind. And so it allows it to warm up a lot more and grow kind of that warmer Syrah that you would find in southern France, you know. The next one is Los Olivos. That's the next one I'm going to talk about, which is going to be number 5 right here. So right next to Ballard Canyon. So Los Olivos is the newest appellation, and it's as you're moving further and further away from the ocean, it's getting hotter and hotter. So different varieties are growing there. So that one's going to be more dedicated to Bordeaux varieties, as well as like Grenache and things like that. This one is actually the flattest region, number 5. And so what makes it interesting, as opposed to the other ones, which are really hilly, because like we talked about those plates and creating that mountain range and things like that, because it's the flattest region, machines can actually kind of cultivate the grapes there a little bit more. So it makes it a little bit easier, where everything else pretty much needs to be hand harvested because of no machines can go on that kind of slope. And then the last one is Happy Canyon right here, number 4. It is the warmest of all of the AVAs. It also does Bordeaux varietals, mainly Cab. And the funny thing is, Happy Canyon is named after the Prohibition bootleggers who would go there and hide out. They'd keep their wines or their alcohol. They'd hide out there and they'd get happy in that canyon. What's really cool, I don't know about what's really cool, but a lot of wineries are betting on that being the next big place. So like major wineries are putting a lot of infrastructure into that one, hopefully being the next thing. Like even major ones out of Napa are like devoting stuff to it because they see the potential that's coming out of it.
Yeah. And I want to say too, that when I was doing some research, I had found that map and it was saying that there were 6 AVAs, but then I was reading and some people said 7, but I couldn't find any information about the 7th. So I did hear that there were 2 more areas under consideration for becoming AVAs because they were making really interesting stuff. So take that 6 with a grain of salt. It might be 7 by now. Before you know it, it might be 8. Who knows? We'll see. These things grow, and the wine world is like, one second you learn it and then it changes and, adjusts and adds on. So, cool. Okay. So I just want to give you like a very brief history because there's much more extensive history, but it's kind of boring because it's like, whatever. But the really important thing to know about Santa Barbara, and if you live in Southern California or California at all, you might already know this, but basically it's very big into missions. It was like a very big place for
California and missions. No way.
Did you have to do a mission project when you were in like 4th grade?
I did. Oh my gosh. Okay. My mission was great. My mom did most of it, but my roof was these like little macaroni shells that we spray painted. Oh, it looked spectacular.
Yeah.
But my friend, I learned her family, what they would do every year is they would do their mission project. And then afterwards, they would blow it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't my family do that? We just kept it in the garage until like the macaroni dried and everything. I'm like, I wish I had blown up my mission project.
That's so funny. I was thinking that they should have just saved it for like the siblings the next years to make their missions. But
okay, well, it's the same teacher, so they would know. Okay, what was the mission that you did?
I have no idea. You think I can remember that?
I remember.
I cannot remember.
I was Solano, because we lived in Solano, Mission Solano, because it was close enough we could go visit and like kind of like have a trip to and learn more. But I wanted San Juan Capistrano because everyone said it was the most beautiful, and the person who got it did such a shitty job on it. I was like, why did I not get San Juan Capistrano?
The poor kid. It was probably that their parents didn't do it for them. They probably actually did it themselves.
They didn't do it in its height of the thing. Like they didn't, and they were like, oh, we decided to do it as it stands now. And I'm like, so like rubble? Great. Cool.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm so bad at that stuff. I do remember doing it, but I don't remember what it was. So yeah, the missions had a huge history throughout the West Coast in general. Couple things about, so vine clippings were planted in the Santa Barbara area in 1782, and they were primarily used as a communion grape. So the churches, basically we owe like everything that we have for wine in the US is particularly to the churches. So one thing I'm very happy that came out of all of that is wine. Prohibition happened, and in my notes I wrote down Prohibition, blah, 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 because everybody knows what happens in Prohibition. Everything gets cut off, except for some churches were allowed to keep producing things, so for communion purposes.
All churches, yeah, as long as it was for sacramental wine, was the only reason why wine got to stay in existence.
Yeah, and a lot of it didn't, but that's really cool. Vines that were maintained despite that. I think I was reading something or talking to somebody recently about wine, and they were explaining how California or the US has been set back so many years on wine development because of Prohibition. Not just wine, but other alcohol too. It just put our country so far back, pausing all of that for so many years. So Prohibition, blah, blah, blah. The 1990s saw a huge growth in the Santa Barbara area, which is primarily because we started to see that. We talked about the Judgment of Paris happening up in Northern California, and then some popularity was starting to develop down south. And then 2004 is when the movie Sideways came out, which I know we've talked about on the show before, so I don't want to go too in-depth on this, but I do want to say that the movie Sideways was filmed in Santa Barbara, and it is a very good example of the way that art can affect an industry, because it basically skyrocketed the Santa Barbara wine industry in a huge way. It grew.
I had read though only like for a brief amount of time. Like, even though, like, okay, let's talk to our audience. How many of you guys are drinking Santa Barbara wines beyond this episode? Probably not on the regs. Like, not, and so Sideways.
Pinot Noir too. Pinot Noir specifically has a great variety. Also,
I think it definitely probably upped Pinot Noir's notoriety. Yeah. I mean, in American eyes, but it was also like, I heard that it had like a boost for Santa Barbara wines, but only very briefly. And now it's gone back into where, like, I don't appreciate Santa Barbara wines nearly enough until this episode. I hope that this episode, like, this art changes an industry.
Yeah. Well, it did change it for tourism. So a lot more people started going there for wine where maybe they hadn't before. Also, something I learned in researching this is the reason for the name Sideways has to do with those mountain ranges and those valleys running from east to west. They're like sideways ranges. So I was like, oh, that is so cool. I had no idea. So in case you're wondering, like, where did Sideways come from? That's, now you know, it's called those transverse mountain ranges and transverse valleys were responsible for the name Sideways. So that's it for me. Oh, okay.
Well, Chris Newman says not Solvang. Apparently Solvang did not put Santa Barbara wines on the map, but Solvang is a really weird town. If you guys have ever been there, it's a Danish town in that area and quite the tourist attraction. Not nearly as much as Sideways was the tourist attraction.
I think Sideways might have been filmed right there in Solvang or something. There was definitely some filming that was maybe going on in that area. But yeah, it's not an AVA. It hasn't become like super popular, but I do want to visit it. I've never been.
I have been. It's weird. It is so weird. Yes. It was funny. I went with my roommate in college who is tuning in. I have noticed. I'm like, thank you, roommate. But we went and we just like took pictures and pretend like we went to like, I don't know.
Like Amsterdam or something?
Yeah. Like, oh, going on vacation. Even though we were
the Netherlands.
Yes, it was great. It was fabulous.
I love that. That's wonderful. So yeah, that's the history from me.
That's the history. Well, I mean, there's a deep, deep history, which is the, like, you know, what you would call it.
There's definitely more, but that was just.
No, I was talking about the history, like the tectonic plates and everything.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. I wasn't getting into
billions of years ago.
Yes. So what do they grow there, Britt?
Oh my gosh. Well, we've touched on it a little bit, but since you've asked, let's talk about what they grow. Strawberries. Oh my goodness. You can tell us more about that in a second.
Well, I just was so surprised when I was reading about it that strawberries are the primary, the most valuable farm crop are strawberries, and then grapes after that.
Then wine. Well, This kind of gives you an idea of top wine grapes varieties planted by acres. And where did you get this one, Caitlin?
Also from the vintners, like Santa Barbara.
They're doing God's work right now. So I feel like, thank you, Vintners Society of Santa Barbara. So as you can see, Pinot Noir is killing it. Hell yeah, it's killing it. Then there's Chardonnay, which I did not. It was so funny. There were a lot of producers that I wanted to drink, but I was like, hell no, I don't want to drink another Chardonnay. I had Chardonnay last week. Love Chardonnay. Love that slutty grape. But
it only takes so much.
And then next is Syrah, which I bought a Syrah and a Riesling, and I thought that Syrah should not be drank on its own. So I did not drink it on its own. Then Cabernet. What?
How would you like to drink it?
With some kind of like meat, like
lamb.
Yeah.
That's what I always want.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't mind like some sort of like brisket or something that's done on like an open fire that has a smokiness. Yes.
I love
Miscellaneous reds. Who knows what that is? Oh, Alan, when I drink Santa Barbara Pinot, I feel I can hear colors.
That is a great description of how I feel with this Pinot. I'm like, there are things happening that I don't even know how to explain.
Actually, what colors can you hear? Actually, I feel like that when I do drugs. Just kidding.
Okay.
Well, I'm just
Pinot Noir
I'm like trying to think, like, when I feel like I can hear colors. I don't even know. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Don't think too much about it, Britt.
I won't, because then I won't hear them. Yeah, so Lauren, I think Texas brisket would go great with Syrah. So if you got yourself a Santa Barbara Syrah, I hope you're having some Texas brisket with it. Sauvignon Blanc is behind that. Pinot Gris, Grenache, miscellaneous whites, just what I'm drinking, a miscellaneous white. Merlot, Cab Franc, Viognier. Okay, so let's talk about why all those things can grow here. All those things can grow here because all those interesting microclimates, like Caitlin mentioned, that there are so many different climates happening. It's like a patchwork of wines that are growing in this region. And then beyond that too, that there is a variety of soil types. Like I mentioned, that soil type that is really good for killing bugs. It's also really good for growing grapes. Maybe the only place where you grow it. And that just allows for so many different things to flourish. And when me and Caitlin were talking earlier, we talk a lot before the show. Shocking. This isn't done. This is done off the cuff a little bit. We have no idea what the other one's going to say, but we also kind of talk a little bit about our topics and stuff like that. But we were talking about how she was like talking about the sideways effect, and I really hadn't started my research yet when she had done it. I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, kind of reminds me of the Loire. And if you think about like the Loire, kind of different grapes are grown.
Where's the Loire?
Is a valley in France. And so it goes sideways also. And as you move further along, there's different expressions of grapes because you're getting away from that cooler climate. You're getting to that warmer, hotter climate. And that's kind of what's going to allow different grapes to grow and what makes Santa Barbara really interesting. And actually, I had read that Santa Barbara, compared to the rest of California, if let's say you are like me and you're like, I'm an old world like person. Oh my gosh. When I started working at a California winery, I had no idea. Like, I was just like, oh, I don't drink that many California wines because I feel like I had grown up in a restaurant and I was raised on restaurant wine, which was imported wine from France, from Italy, from Spain. And so I didn't know California wine, and people would like bring stuff and I'm like, oh, that's too hot. Oh, that's too juicy. I don't want it. And then I was reading that if you're like me, like I was, that Santa Barbara is the perfect like transition for you to get you. It's that gateway drug to get you into more domestic stuff because of that climate, because it's not so overpowering sun, which makes these sugars go up, which makes the alcohol go up, which makes it super juicy. You're going to get more of an expression of the terroir that you're not going to get in a lot of other places. So it's like, because those overpowering flavors can do that, you're not going to get that expression. And so that's why I am like down with Santa Barbara. I wasn't until I was ready. I was getting ready for this episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, Santa Barbara must be my jam. And I am ready for it. I'm sold. See you in Santa Barbara. Great. We're planning a trip there. Call all your IPT imported, all our IP. We need to come up with a word for, and everyone's allowed to think about it other than alcoholics. IPT viewers, what would we call the IPT viewers? Like give yourself a club name or something. But we should just like do a live episode from there, and
it's so cool.
And anyone could come to it. So anyway,
okay, yeah. I want to say
talk about varieties. Yeah, tell me what you have to say.
Just to add on to that, so in answer to Patricia's question earlier, there are 70 plus varieties that are grown there. We just showed you like the top, but there are so many, and that's what's so cool about it is you can grow so many different things. And I feel like that's also how you know that a region is really caring about the land and the air and the climate when they're growing, because they're not like, oh my gosh, these are what's popular, we're going to grow these grapes. They're like, ooh, this little sliver is going to grow this really well, and this little sliver is going to grow this really well. And so they tailor that. So that's really unique to have that many grapes there. And then I wanted to say too, I had looked up, and when I was thinking, I told Britt, I was like, how about we do an annual trip to a different AVA in Santa Barbara, like each year?
Annual? I think more like every other month.
Okay, great. Okay, it can be like quarterly or something. But I had read that, let's see. Oh, I had read that if you are more into an urban wine experience, but you still want to be up there in Lompoc, there's like this weird strip mall sort of thing that has been converted into a tasting room. And it's a converted strip mall with 24 urban tasting rooms. So, I mean, I don't recommend you visit them all in one day. That seems like a few days because, I mean, 24, that's going to knock you out. So pace yourself. But that's so cool, like a random converted strip mall. And then if you are thinking about planning a trip to Santa Barbara, preferably, I mean, everything's in the world is weird right now with COVID, but maybe once that blows over, hopefully ever someday. There was a great article that I saw on Wine Folly that was about the different AVAs in Santa Barbara. It was 2015, so it was a little bit older now, but it was a cool way of breaking down, like, if you want this experience, like, go to these places.
Okay, Caitlin. So in one of our very early episodes that was only like, it was a dry run. Yeah. We sent it to only friends. I did a game which was called, maybe you've heard of it, Fuck, Marry, Kill. And I always do it with like, okay, for great varieties. And one of my...
Wait, how does it work?
Okay, so you choose, okay, so whatever the topic is, you think about which one of them you want to marry, which one of them you want to fuck, and which one of them you want to kill. Self-explanatory. Marry, fuck, kill. Fuck, marry, kill. Anyway, so I kind of like was talking to one of my coworkers about it, and he was like, oh, you could really start doing it to different like focuses. So I'm going to ask you this.
Uh-oh.
Uh-huh. Fuck, marry, kill, Santa Barbara AVAs, ready, set, go.
Okay, can you pull up the AVA map?
Okay, I can because I happen to be on that. Let's see.
I was going to say, I feel like we need to give Britt a huge virtual round of applause because Britt is mastering this episode tonight. She is the woman behind the magic.
I don't know about mastering, but I'm doing the episode right now.
She's doing it. And she just lets me jump right on, right before.
I know. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull them up. Here it is. Fuck, marry, kill. Let's hear your fuck, marry, kill for Santa Barbara. And everybody put it in your, put it in the notes what yours is.
This is hard. Okay, well, I would say the one I want to marry would be Santa Rita Hills.
I mean, everybody wants to marry Santa Rita Hills. I agree with you 100%.
And then because I still want a piece of Santa Maria Valley because that's where this came from and it's delicious and it's got this best vineyard, I'm going to say that's my fuck because I really still, like I said, got to get a piece of that.
Because you can fuck with that wine any day. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of want to marry it, but it's like a fine line between those two. And then I would say Happy Canyon AVA, the like cab growing region would be my get out of here.
Get out of here, Happy Canyon. Okay, Alan said, whatever you kill, make sure you do it with the candelabra in the library. Actually, it is with the revolver in the study, Alan. So you know.
So what about you, Britt?
Okay, I'm there for the I'm marrying Santa Rita Hills. I think I'm fucking with Ballard Canyon. Like somebody who's dedicated just to Syrah, I'm sure they would be dedicated to one other thing. And I think that I'm going to kill Santa Ynez AVA or Valley because one, it's like a big one. And then all these other little sub ones came out of it. So I'm like, clearly it's not that distinguished. It's not making anything on my radar. So yeah, I'm marrying Santa Rita Hills. I'm fucking Ballard Canyon and I'm killing.
I like this one. It's like kill, nada, nothing. Nope. We're taking it all. We want it all.
Okay, great. Take it all. Oh, you're fucking with Santa Maria, huh? Okay, but
Girl,
marrying
you can have it all.
You're liking those hot wines. Okay. Anybody else? If you put it in the notes, it's going to be brought up. Okay. But now that we're done with that, Caitlin, why don't you tell us what you want to eat with your wine?
Okay. Well,
oh my God, I said it correct this time. I want to point that out to everyone. Oh wait, let me go ahead and change that.
It's like our new tagline is like, tell us what you want to drink with your wine.
Yes, it is our tagline. Look for the merch. The merch is going to be there soon.
It's going to be like, what do you want to drink with your wine tonight? No, so I think because there's so many like gamey, like earthy qualities in this, I want something that can match that. I want like a pate. I want like some sort of like, for lack of I know it's kind of cliche, but a duck liver or a chicken liver pate at this point. I know I said duck. I said duck.
Yes.
I like duck liver pate better than chicken liver pate, which I realize is the most pretentious sounding statement ever. Excuse me, is this duck liver or chicken liver? So yes.
My monocle has fallen off of my eye.
I know, it's so bad. It's so bad. But I don't know. I just feel like anything that's going to give me that like meaty, gamey, but not too heavy. I mean, I would drink this at Thanksgiving with some turkey and cranberry sauce. I would drink this, but I like the meatiness of like a pate. That's what I want. With some jam, like maybe some raspberry or cranberry like compote or something to like really, yum.
Oh my God, you're making me hungry.
Oh, sorry. What about you?
Okay. So let's see. With mine, it has like a really rich quality to it, but also like that fruitiness, but then it's still dry. So I would do, I mean, my mind just goes to like different things, different restaurants that I worked at, but like we had this halibut tail that was done in like a miso butter. And I could just see these two like marrying perfectly, like just that richness going together. Mm. Maybe, I don't know, because the fruitiness. See, I feel like I'm just like the little sister. I'm like, yeah, I want that too. I'm like, but duck pate and fucking Riesling are king.
Ooh, so, really?
Yes, I think that the minerality of Riesling brings out the minerality of duck pate. Like, and I like, you came to my restaurant once. You had that like little toast, a little duck liver toast with the fermented pineapples. Oh God, I want that.
Sounds good. With the pineapples too, I feel like that would really tie in with like some sort of wine. Like yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm ready to hear what you want to listen to with it.
Okay, so I almost subjected all of you to some. Oh, okay, we can listen to this.
Back to Santa Barbara, where the people know my name. Down in Isla Vista, where the free birds open late.
I mean, come on, it's like so good. It's like you got Santa Barbara right there. It feels like the beachy vibe. It's like I almost subjected all of you to just like Santa Barbara ocean wave sounds. And then I was like, okay, I'll pick a song. I was like, we all need a little zen moment with some earth wave, some Santa Barbara wave sounds.
Oh my God. I mean, we do. Have you guys seen the sky in San Francisco? The sun hasn't come out for the last 2 days. So I need some fucking zen in my life.
Yeah, seriously.
But
what do you want to listen to?
I love that they talked about Isla Vista, which is like the big party region in Santa Barbara. Yeah. You like at that right point. And then they talk about the Freebirds, which they're actually talking about a taco joint.
It's a burrito place, right? Burritos, Freebirds.
It's like a burrito or taco joint.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's out there. You think they're talking about birds, but they're not. They're talking about taqueria. And hell yeah, I'm here for that taqueria.
It's very local. It's a very local feel.
It is. Like you wouldn't know, except I went to that taqueria.
Yeah. Okay, what about you?
Okay. So one movie that happened that takes place in Santa Barbara other than Sideways. It's called It's Complicated. And I chose a song from that because I just felt it, man. So this is it.
I like it.
I am so with this wine.
It sounds perfect. It's so relaxing. It's like ocean waves.
Just like ocean wave.
Okay.
Okay, so tell us what's happening next week. What are we doing next week?
I'm so excited. So Britt and I were like, man, we have so many topics. We have so many topics we want to get to. If you have ideas or things you want to hear, please send them our way. We have an infinite number of them. We're kind of balancing because there's some that we feel like are going to be easier when we can have you all drinking the wines we're drinking. So we're trying to put some of those off.
AKA when we start our own online wine shop.
It's in the works. It's just in the works with a lot of other work that we have. But next week, Britt and I we're calling it Supermarket Sweep. So what we're going to be doing, So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking to you about how to buy wines in the supermarket. So if you are in a place where you don't get to go to a wine shop and you don't have a sommelier, or you're like, what if I am in the wine shop and I don't want to ask? We're going to teach you how to read a label, how to look for certain wines, how to get good bargain wines, all of that stuff. So
actually, we're like, not only are we doing Supermarket Sweep, but we're going to keep our wine choices to under $15.
Yeah.
We're not, me and Caitlin are not going to go to a wine shop. We are going to go to a supermarket and we are going to see what we come back with. And this also ties into something that we're going to release for the public, which is a wine buying guide to help you kind of be a conscious consumer and help you, like, when I'm in the store, what should I be looking for? And like with that, we're going to start a campaign, kind of like an email thing where it's like, give us your email, we'll give you a wine buying guide. And so we're kind of working on that. Look for it in the next couple of weeks. But even if you don't look for it in the next couple of weeks, tune into next week's episode because we're really going to touch on that and how to really navigate a supermarket, because sometimes I don't want to go to a fucking wine shop. Actually, the funny thing was the other wine that I got other than this one was from a supermarket. And a
really nice one, right?
A very, very nice one.
You can't go to a fancy one. We're talking like
I even told him when we were talking about it, I'm like, just so you know, I will not go to Berkeley Bowl. I'm like, I'm going to go to another supermarket, but the other one, it was a very nice one. They have a very great selection. And so
yeah.
How do you navigate a supermarket? And like, let's talk about it.
So basically there's no variety specifications, whatever it is, under $15, grab a bottle from your supermarket, and we're just going to talk you through it. And by the end of the episode, we will hopefully make you feel more empowered about buying wines from the market. So
perfect. And we'd love to hear feedback on anything we fucked up, anything you loved, and anything that, we can kind of like incorporate into new episodes. And as always, Caitlin, stay thirsty.
Yes. Stay thirsty, everyone. Awesome.
And we'll see you next week for Supermarket Sweep. We can't wait.
We're going to have costumes.
Oh my God. They're going to be the best.
Bring it.
If you want to dress up for Supermarket Sweep, dress up.
Get your team together. Coordinate your outfits.
I mean, I kind of want to go steal a shopping cart, I'll be honest.
We will not advertise that on the show. But also,
I'll definitely rip off the name brand that I stole it from.
Also, Britt, you fucking killed it tonight. Cheers! Cheers! You're killing it. You're killing it. You're such a badass.
Corey thinks I killed it too.
Yes. Yes.
Bye.